you're listening to the Monica Sanford Show, a podcast with a variety of topics and guests. You're here for another great episode of sharing people's stories and learning why they do what they do. Everyone has an interesting story, and I love helping them share it. I am Monica Sanford, your host. I am a doctor of nursing practice and have been specializing in critical care cardiology for 25 years. I am joined by my co-host today, as always, my husband, veteran retired Marine Lieutenant Colonel David Sanford. So follow me on Instagram, Facebook, LinkedIn, like, follow, share all the pages, follow the podcast, Apple, Spotify, iHeartRadio, wherever you get your podcasts. So please welcome to the studio today. I am super excited to have her on. Retired Air Force Chief Master Sergeant Linda Cox. Thank you for coming all the way from Texas.
Thank you very much, you guys.
So you're going to hear all about Chief Master Sergeant Linda Cox. She is the total bomb in every way. She is the First Lady of EOD. And she's going to tell us what that means and what it's all about. A mutual friend, actually, we were talking about this a second ago. A mutual friend, Tina, reached out to me and said that they had just gone to, I think it was the EOD Foundation Ball, or that you had just given an amazing keynote speech and address, and that I just had to reach out to you and get you on the show. So thank you, Tina, for hooking us up, because I'm so honored to have her on. So my guest today, her father was a World War II veteran. Her brother's a Vietnam veteran. Her mom was in the Navy. Is that right? Your mom's in the Navy?
That's true.
And our guest is the baddest ass chick in the Air Force, let me tell you. So thank you again, Master Chief, Chief Master Sergeant, Linda Cox, for coming on today. So she has been, it has been said about her that she not just broke the glass ceiling in this selected field, but she blew it the hell up, let me tell you. So, so 1974, she became the first female bomb technician as an EOD specialist in the Air Force, and that is explosive ordnance disposal, scoring the highest on the mechanical test of any woman that had ever scored. She not only made it through the EOD score, she was the first to lead a unit, awarded a Bronze Star, first ever highest enlisted rank of Chief Master Sergeant female in EOD or overall. And I mean, she's going to tell us all about that. You were an Iraqi combat veteran in the Persian Gulf War, Kuwait, Iraq. So let's just jump right to it, because we have a ton of questions for you. So first, how did you land that specialty? I mean, did you look at it and say, I just can't wait to do that. I want to do that.
Absolutely not. I had no idea it even existed. And I'll tell you the truth, I can answer that question in 4 words. It was a dare. I got dared to be in this career field, and I didn't know what it was. But a friend of mine, she knew what it was, and she said, I bet you won't do that. And I said, I bet I will. She said, I dare you. Well, I'm from Oklahoma, so the rest is how it came. So,
well, then when you found out you were going, were you excited about it then? I mean, were you scared out of your mind going, what did I get myself into?
Well, kind of, but a part of me couldn't show it, right? Because they said that EOD meant every other day. So I said, well, who doesn't want a job like that? So when I went to the orderly room, our first sergeant owns us and runs us. So when I went to the orderly room and said, I want to volunteer for this job, he said, EOD, explosive ordnance disposal. And I said, well, what did that E stand for? And so that's how I got in. I didn't know what it was, but the bomb disposal sounded good. So,
oh, wow.
Okay.
So let's back it up just a minute to hear about young Linda, if we can, before we get into a lot more EOD stuff. So young Linda, you grew up with a bunch of brothers. Were you used to taking things apart and putting them back together, blowing up stuff? I mean, what was it that growing up with a bunch of brothers helped you with?
I do think that helped a lot. And I was never treated any different. I thought I was one of them. I mean, I took things apart. Yes, we had cars. We could work on cars back then, if you remember. And so that's why the mechanical thing, I just knew all of that. And
wow.
That's how we grew up.
So Linda, can you tell our audience what is EOD? What is that exactly?
EOD, the acronym stands for Explosive Ordnance Disposal. And what that is the bomb squad in a military organization. So it's just it's the bomb squad. You're responding on ordnance that has dudded or misfired in any way, or homemade bombs, any kind of an explosive threat. I've responded to old dynamite in farmers' barns and that kind of thing too. So,
oh wow, so you're disarming them.
yes, yeah, that's
So how long is the school? What schools do you go to? Where do you go to the schools? And
we go to. They've changed things a bit, but it used to be at Indian Head, Maryland, and now they have changed that and moved the schoolhouse to Eggland in Florida. It's a much larger land mass, and the trainees can blow things up. We can only blow a quarter of a pound of explosives. These guys can do all kinds of things out there because they have the real estate to do that. We also go to a chemical school, and then as you graduate EOD school, then you go to the nuclear side of the house. So you continue after EOD school. All services go to this same school. It's run by the Navy, and all services go there. So my classmates were Army and Marine Corps and Navy and all of that. It's run by the school, by the Navy, and the Navy really wasn't enthralled with me being there because it was the first one in the military period: Army, Air Force, Navy, Marine, all of that.
Well, how long is that school from? Talk us through. So you joined the Air Force, and then from that time until you went to that school was how long? And then how long were you in school?
I was in the Air Force for about 3 years running a printing press. I ran off, newspapers and that kind of thing. And then, of course, my friend, that's when she said, "Hey, this is in the base paper. I think are you scared to do that?" I said, "No."
Well, hang on then. So you were in for 3 years. At that time, what kind of jobs were there for women in the Air Force? What the printing press? What did women do?
All of the women went to administrative type fills. That's what they filled. And because I was high on the mechanic test, I went and ran a printing press. So I started out as a printer. We didn't have Xerox. We had to really run off a printer. And that was back in that day. So I had been in the Air Force about 3 years whenever the stars lined up and this challenge came to me and said, "Go to EOD school."
So then from the time you went into EOD school to go through all your certifications or all the classes you had to do, how long is that?
It's about 6 months.
Okay.
It's about 6 months or so because you jump into other schools and then you ended up graduating and then going on to your prospective basis.
So when you applied then for the school, or how did you have to apply and you went through that application? How many other women did it and you were the only one to get through?
No. There were no women that ever did it before. And it was kind of odd because they kept sending my application back saying this can't be right. You blocked the female block and not the male block. And then we'd send it in again and then they'd send it back. And the last time, they did it 2 or 3 times. And then the last time they said, "Well, make her carry 100 pounds. So I went to the hospital and the hospital staff filled buckets up with rocks and bricks and that kind of thing and had me walk across the room and then rock back. And so then they said, "Well, she could lift 100 pounds. What else you want?" And they couldn't think of anything else. So I guess they had to say, yeah, then. So they said, "Well, okay." So, I didn't even really have a fatigue uniform. We didn't have a green fatigue uniform then. So I didn't even have a uniform to wear appropriately to be crawling around in the mud. And it was kind of interesting after that.
Wait, so the men had a particular uniform and then they had to make you a female one? Is that what you mean?
Green fatigues. The green fatigues is what, the fatigue uniform, sir, the green fatigue, the utility uniform that everybody wears and everybody wears today. But they dug some up for me that was worn in the Korean War, I believe. And they have little buttons up the side, both sides. And they were cut for ladies. You know, the waist is this big and the hips are this big or whatever. So it was interesting. And then at one point they drew my foot so I could get a combat boot because I didn't have any boots, didn't have anything to wear. So that was kind of a fun
wow.
thing. And that was just another irritant for these guys, these gentlemen that, you know, didn't want women in the career field.
Well, we want to get into that in a minute. Definitely. I know Dave has a question about it, but some of that is, you know, and, you know, excuse my language, but men around other men are just kind of busting balls. They're just always kind of, you know, ribbing each other or, you know, but when does it become, when you are in there, where it becomes hazing? I mean, when they are going too hard on you, where they wouldn't do that to a male counterpart.
No, that never happened. But
Okay.
when you're in school, you go from block to block. So you learn a block and then you go on, graduate, and then you go on to the next block. And once you kind of prove yourself, but it was, you know, you have to kind of keep a sense of humor. And they started having a sense of humor afterwards, after they figured out that maybe Linda's different. Maybe she's just one that can make it or something. But we went out to the practical area one day, and you got off the bus, and there's no outhouses or restrooms or any of that going on. And they had two trees that were about, I don't know, 25, 30 feet apart. And one tree had a sign on there that said men, and the other tree had a sign on there that said Linda. So they did start having a little bit of a sense of humor, but they would always put me in the water, you know, all of those kind of things, and make me walk the farthest and that kind of thing. But you know, the guys did it too. The students, you know, we were all in it together as a student and as friends, and those friends end up being, you know, your lifeline for the rest of your life. I still see my friends at the recent ball that I went to, so it's kind of fun. Yeah,
Very cool. So
So when you went through all your training and then you got to the first time you actually had to disarm a live ordnance, did you walk up to that feeling like you were prepared to do this task? It was right in front of you.
Sure. But you know what? We were very young. You always walked up with a buddy. And I'm not proud about this one story, but we walked up, and this was a World War II, I think, item. And I remember looking at it going, I don't remember that fuse from school. Do you? And Raul, my buddy, said, no, I don't remember it either. So we backed off and said, well, let's see, if we touch it over here, it looks like it'll go do this. But if we hit it here and it goes off, then we'll know. But if we hit it and it doesn't go off, then we'll know it's safe to approach. So we backed off. True story. I'm sorry, Raul, to throw you under the bus, buddy, but so we did throwing rocks. So we did back off, and then we started throwing rocks a little bit. Nobody can see us. So, you know, thank heaven, we'd been in trouble. Throw a rock and it hit where we wanted it to, and okay, it didn't go off. So we can go up to it. It's safe to go up to. So then you go up to it and figure out if that didn't make it go off, then we can attack it this way. And everything was wonderful after that. So,
well, I have no story to compare to anything you did, but I was enlisted infantry and I was in mortars. So the closest I ever came to that, you know, if you drop a mortar in the tube and it doesn't go off, you have to turn the tube upside down and catch the mortar when it comes out. And I remember the first time I did that, I was like, this is it. It's over. I distinctly remember taking that out or catching it when it came out and went put it in some safe place. And this EOD guy comes up and he just walked up like he was picking up a bag of chips and just like walked away with us. Like, all right, so that's a dude over there.
You did perfect. And he did that just because, you know, he's like, yeah, the swagger thing, you know, yeah, we got this.
Of course.
But we're still shaking. We're still shaking too. He was just a good actor.
Of course. So I got to ask you, you're the first EOD person I've talked to since the movie came out 20 years ago. You have to hate the Hurt Locker.
Didn't even see it. We didn't see
it.
it.
God bless you.
Yeah, because when they ran that movie trailer and that guy pulled all those wires up, you know, and all those bombs come swinging in, you know, and all that, it had to have been very strong. I was like, just pulling 1,000 pounds or something. But you know what? We said to ourselves, if that guy was on our team, I would have shot him in the foot and sent him home because he's going to kill somebody. So
Oh, wow.
we didn't
Yeah,
see
because
it.
that whole, and for the people that didn't see it, it was about an EOD specialist, I think, that
Yeah,
did,
yeah.
kind of went disregarding all regulations and kind of wild, wild west cowboy stuff out in Iraq. And you're right. I mean, that kind of stuff you can't do. That would get somebody killed. That'd get a bunch of people killed.
Shoot him in the
So,
foot, send him home. Yeah.
Yeah, so you didn't do like him and just take all your PPE off as you were
Oh
disarming
yeah.
something?
Sure, sure,
Let
sure,
God sort them out kind of thing?
sure.
that's funny. So you after you proved yourself to everybody and you go and what was that feeling like though that in either a combat situation or wherever you were when it was the first time ever out of training that you had to go defuse or disarm a live ammunition, a live bomb or however you say it. But what
Yeah,
was that feeling? Or were you just like literally scared to crap? I mean, or are you going, I am like Dave said, I'm ready for this. I'm
I
prepared, and
got it.
let's just do it.
I get it. Well, the very, very first time it was very embarrassing because, gosh, I don't know if I want to tell this on myself, but we got a call that there was a piece of ordnance in an office building. Go see so and so. So I went and I was ready to go and had all my stuff, all my gear. We had the truck, had stuff inside. You know, I'm telling the guys, all right, I'm going to go get this. It's okay. I went in to check it out. It was a bullet. A bullet. So I took that embarrassing piece of ordnance, bullet, and put it in my pocket and said thanks and left. So that was the very first time. But they all had a flare. Every call had a flare. But you know what? You don't. I didn't, and most people didn't. You don't. You're terrified, but you're not scared right then. You know your attack. You know what you came up with. You're going to go down there and do it, and you do it. You don't even think about it. You do what you're supposed to do, and that's it. Then when you back off, when I was driving home or when I get back to the office or everybody's back, that's when it starts, like, oh, this could have happened or this could have happened or what could have happened here. But I wasn't scared at the time. And maybe that's foolish. There were a lot of times that I was foolish. Wasn't very good and foolish, but
Well, it sounds like you just focused and you
yeah,
are, because that's how it is in critical care cardiology. I mean, we're
there
so
you go.
focused. And then
Yeah.
after kind of the shit hits the fan, you're just like, okay, you have
Wow.
your
Yeah.
after action report or what could we have done better, things like that. But
Sure.
yeah, it's always, you're just so focused on, the mission right then. But,
I, wa-
and, and
I
speaking
wasn't.
of missions, what missions did you do that you kind of look back in Iraq or, and say, damn, I'm glad I was there. I'm glad I was there. Glad I was the one that, was on, on that point or whatever to take care of it.
Yeah.
And as much as you want to talk or not talk
There,
about it, but there's,
there were several. And talking about being afraid or scared, we were on a Secret Service mission. Our Secret Service mission. We support them. We're their bomb squad when they come into our area. And we were in a hotel, clearing the hotel. There was a gym bag in the bathroom underneath the sink. And I had this little Army guy with me because, again, we all respond. And I was in charge, but I had this little Army guy behind me. And I went in and he was just standing at the door and he wouldn't come in. He's all shaking. I said, go, come on, you need to be down here and look at this. The two of us need to look at it. And he said, I can't. So he just absolutely freaked right then. And I said, okay, you stay right there. Just stand right there and I'll talk to you. And I told him, well, it's got this and that, but I don't see any, whatever I said. And so we took care of it. But that's not the time to freak or break down, as you know, in an operating room. Can you imagine? It's like, oh my gosh. So unfortunately, he got booted. But what else can you do? I mean, that was the first time that he had ever been on anything at all.
well, that brings me to my next question, because that is, when you have to take charge and you have to kind of remain calm or whatever, it's like, what's the best quality somebody wanting to go into EOD? What's the best quality? I would say besides steady hands, I guess. But what's the best quality overall in leadership or just mentality that someone would have? What did you see kind of the the line that all of y'all were on?
I think the best quality that I appreciated in was you just have to trust your, the guy you're with. You have to trust them. And whenever you both confab about what needs to happen, or we're going to approach it this way, I trust that guy with my absolute life, and he trusts me with his absolute life, regardless. So I think the quality is being able to trust who you're with, and that makes the EOD field. That's why we're such a close-knit family. That's why all of these years I've got friends that I met at school in 50 years ago, something like that are still my friends, because they're in the Army, or like like Marine Corps, or anybody. My best friends are Army and Marine Corps guys, and I
Well,
think
we just had a lot of EOD. I mean, I knew quite a few just because we lived in that area. We lived near Eglin
yeah,
for a while, so we just saw a lot of them, met a lot of them, or I knew their, a female that their husband was in it or something like that. But so yeah, definitely very close knit group. But how many women are in EOD now? Do you know, and instructors even?
I don't know. Uh, I don't know. There's one or two. There's one instructor. They had two, and they just left, and they started up a thing for women to follow on. So whenever they get to their next base, if there's no women there or whatever, they can always call, and everybody gives support back and forth. And I've been to the schoolhouse a few times, just talking to the students, and it's just fun. Go out for pizza and talk to them and that kind of thing. And I give them credit. Everybody gives me credit, and it's way blown out of proportion. Um, I I went through school and I was the first one, okay. But these ladies that are coming up now, coming behind me, are the ones that hammer home that yes, it's proof. It's proof that women can be in this field. We don't want to be anything else. We just want to be good bomb techs, and we've got their team leaders, their shop chiefs, their senior people. We've got a EOD woman at the Pentagon, for crying out loud. I mean, we are here.
Oh, wow.
We're here to stay, and
Yeah. Well, I love it. I've heard you being interviewed somewhere before. I think it was the EOD Foundation website or something. That you did give all the women that came behind you all their props, because it just proved that you were not a one-off. That
right.
you did it first, and you kind of blew through that glass ceiling type thing. But all the women do give you props, and
Yeah.
rightfully so. But and what I want to see also, what you thought then about women being in other parts of the military, like the SEALs and the Rangers and Special Ops, things like that. What is, you know,
Here's my
point?
thought. Here's my
Yep.
thought, really. I think that there is they can be anything or anyone or any job that they want to do or need to do or can do. But the problem is when the military starts doing these quota things. We have to have so many women. We have to have this or whatever, and they change the curriculum to allow that to happen. That's the problem. EOD didn't change the curriculum for me. I still had to lift this. I still had to do that or whatever. We never changed, and we never will. But these other fields, they get locked up into, oh, we need a woman here. We need to have a female here for, prosperity or for quota or whatever. That's where they get screwed up. So I think the woman, it's not for every woman. This career field is not for every woman. This career field is not for every man. So
Very true.
just don't change the curriculum. That's the problem, and that's where people start get angry, and she gets special treatment or they get this or whatever. So stop that bull. Stop it.
I think most rational people would agree with you. And the sad thing is, most of the changes I've seen that, supposedly are to help women get through, there's plenty of women out there that can get through on the standard that was already there. You just got to go out there and advertise, and you'll get those quality women. So
Exactly.
there's not many things in the military that a woman can't do. So you just got to find those women that can meet those. We're mainly talking about physical standards to that they'll be able to pass those. I've said this on here before, like the Marine Corps PFT for women physical fitness tests. It used to be men had to do pull-ups and women had to do arm hangs. So they just had to get their chin over the bar, and they, to max it, you had to be there for 2 minutes. Well, it changed to pull-ups, and over a couple of years, women were maxing out the pull-ups just like the men. So you start training to a standard, okay, and just give it time in those physical standards. The ladies will be able to get there just like the men. So now the thing about women being in combat and certain MOSs, we can debate that all day long. That's a different discussion. But I wanted to ask you about kind of staying on this thing, women in EOD. Is there anything you saw where a difference, like where a woman might have an advantage in the EOD field, actually doing the job of dismantling ordnance compared to a man, or vice versa? Were there things women seem to be good at more than men, or was it just everybody's the same?
Well, everybody's the same with ideas, and I don't like a yes man, so everybody's brain counts. But you know what? My hands are smaller. I can get into little places sometimes. When we were going through school, the instructors hated me because I had a bobby pin in my hair, and I stopped the clock ticking with a bobby pin. So you guys don't carry bobby pins around, but I had one to stop the clock and stop the IED from going off. So,
oh my God.
So they're kind of fun things, but no, I can't say, other than small places. Sometimes that affords you a better advantage, but nah, not really.
So maybe we should start letting little people in the Air Force and go in the EOD.
There you go. You can start that one.
So one, kind of get back to the actual job of it all is, is there one common mistake when diffusing something that you've seen, especially when you were downrange? Because the enemy gets a vote, and they're constantly evolving the way they place munitions. I'm sure there's different triggers they got used to or started using, and they adapted those. There are also the EFPs, from Iran, of course. Kind of, what did you see there as a common mistake that people would make?
I think the most common mistake is getting overconfident in what you're looking at or doing. You guys know you can do the same thing 50 times, 100 times, 150, 200 times, and it's all the same outcome, etc. But that 251, something might be different. So you have to start with square one on everything. And I'm not saying that happens all the time, or that's the main thing, but it is important. And I never believed, that I was smarter than whatever I was walking up on. Never. I'm not that smart. I'm not, because anything could happen to that. That could have a fracture, something happened to it that you don't know, that is unknown. And I'll give you an example of a fracture. We were digging things up at one point from World War I. Now, it had been in the ground for 80 years, 70, 80, 100 years. It's in the ground. So there's no way that it's still pristine that the book says it is. So you have to assume that there's a fracture there somewhere, some kind, with the ground and everything has been, and it was up north in the snow and blah, blah, blah. So it's not pristine. It's not the same. You can't handle it the same that the book tells you to. You've got to pay attention to it.
So when you're saying fracture, it just means not completely intact like it should be? Okay.
Just an envisioned fracture of some sort, something that you can't treat it like you did everything else, like you did the last one. It might not be the same.
So I'm really interested, when you were in Iraq, what was the most innovative technique the enemy was using maybe the change they made with munitions? Was it the way they placed it, or was it something mechanical within the device?
When I would approach an item, whether it was a bomb or IED or didn't know what it was, whatever, it's me going down there, me and my partner going down there with it. It's like taking a stick and poking the hornet's nest, right? So I was the one doing it. I was the robot back then, is what I'm saying. And our guys now, we have a better standoff. So that has helped us enormously. We've got drones now that can, look at the whole area. We've got a robot. And that essentially allows you to be in a safe area and have that stick be a whole lot longer to go down and poke that hornet's nest with. So the technical aspect of this career field is leaps and bounds. There's always room for more, and it just continues on. So we're much safer in our approach just from standoff alone. So hopefully we can take care of those bad guys.
Yeah, I had somebody on the show talking about how AI was doing, and everything you were mentioning, and just some of the stuff he was saying. I was like, that is crazy. what they can do now, and I'm so glad that it's actually becoming hopefully a lot safer for the EOD and everybody involved in that. But I wanted to ask you about being the female. One, are you still an instructor somewhere at any EOD school, or and what would be your kind of teaching or leadership philosophy, and not focusing on the females at all, but overall, just any anybody that walks up in your class, what is your philosophy with them?
Yeah, I do like to speak to the students, but I'm not anything official. But I like to tell them that they're not smart. Don't think you're smarter than anything out here. You're not. And to respect that part. Don't forget, and use everybody you've got. Use everybody's brain. You're not. You got 10 people. There might be 10 different ways of doing something. Nobody's wrong. You select something based on an idea, or based on a theory, or based on a notion. You select something based on something, and you're not wrong. There might be better ways to do it, but you're not wrong if you base it on something. And that's what I try to instill in the young guys.
Yeah. And I love that you take everybody's, input into account and come up with the best solution. And yeah.
Absolutely.
Sorry, Dave, did you have something to say? Sorry, I thought you were on mute. Go ahead.
No, I'm good. It all sounds great. What's the downside to being an EOD? There's got to be, as we say in the Marine Corps, embrace the suck. Well, that kind of sucks when you're embracing the suck. What's the suck in EOD?
We terribly, terribly mistreat our families. And I say that because we're focused on, we're trained, and we train on doing certain things. This is what I want to do. I want to go here. I want to do this. And our families kind of don't understand that, or we don't always tell them that, I volunteered for that. They think, oh, babe, I come home and go, babe, I got to go again, that kind of thing. So that's the downside. It's much, this. It's much, much more difficult to stay home than it is to deploy or go on that call.
Yeah, I have to say, having lived with the Marine now for 36 years, that he would, go back in a second still.
Yeah.
So we only have about 5 minutes left. I have to ask you a funny thing, because I've heard you talk about, Barbara Bush in the presidential bedroom talking about you. So what was all that about?
We were in Kuwait, and I was in the command post. We had the technical guys, the radio guys, comm guys, had a pirate antenna. They could pop an antenna up and listen to what's being said over in the States, and listen to how people are thinking of us here and there, whatever. And they popped an antenna up, and it popped into the White House, and they heard President Bush, Daddy Bush. They heard President Bush, and I was listening to this gentleman was making such difficult decisions, and he was so distraught. He was just beside himself, worried about, did he do the right thing? Has he done the right thing? Sending his boys and girls over, that's what he called us, and to fight in a foreign and take care of terrorism or whatever. He was just so distraught. So when you're in the command post, sir, you're just kind of sitting there, not doing a lot until something happens. So I got my tablet and I wrote him a letter. Dear President Bush, don't you worry about it. We heard you speak tonight. Don't you worry about it. We are proud to be here. We're proud of you. We're proud of your leadership. We're fighting terrorism. We believe in that, all that kind of stuff. And I signed it, Linda Cox, EOD, period. Sent it to the White House. Did I think he was going to get that? Well, no, but it was just something to do. And that's when he did get that letter. But like I said, somebody better than the President of the United States got that letter. Better than the President of the United States. It was First Lady Barbara Bush. And I know she got that letter because she wrote me back. And she's, said, thank you for your words of encouragement. And, we love you guys and we think of you often, blah, blah. And then at the end, she said, I'm giving your letter to George tonight. So there we were, EOD, in the presidential bedroom talking about EOD. So that's how that came about. She was a nice lady. You're muted.
Sorry about that. Thank you.
Right.
That is a fun, cool story to have to tell. But yeah. But I have to ask you too. I read somewhere that is Sunday night still your nails night, your nails and primping night.
Nail night.
Yeah.
Everybody knows. See, we've been around each other for so many years. Everybody knows when we're TDY, when we're out, when we're doing anything. It's like, well, I got nail night. I got to go do my nails. So yeah, there they are.
Okay. Well, tell real quick then. How do your nails affect what you do?
Well, they come in handy. They're pretty tough. I've used my thumbnail as a screwdriver before, and I had one stop a grenade this was in training, but it popped over and you stick it on your thumbnail and it won't set the grenade off. So again,
oh my God,
handy. Sometimes this stuff is handy.
We're going to start issuing nails.
Nails and bobby pins.
Yes, definitely. Nails and bobby pins. That's going to be the name of my podcast. So, very cool. So, Dave, do you have anything else for the last couple of minutes?
Yeah, it's just an honor to meet you. Being the first, I hate it when people are like make it like, oh, I'm the first, but to go into EOD as the first anything, that's a pretty daunting challenge and sound like you nailed it. So it's an honor to meet you, and
thank you.
I hope to meet you in person one day.
Thank you so much for saying that, sir. And you did a great job catching that mortar. I'm here to tell you. It was nice meeting both of y'all, and I do look forward to seeing you in person one of these days.
I know, definitely. We run with some of the same circles, so hopefully that will happen soon. But this was so much fun. I loved hearing all about your story, and this was a complete blast. I have to say it. Had to say it. A blast having you on. I know, and some of this, you can tell my husband is actually visiting our grandbaby today, so he's you could hear the cooing in the background a little bit. So, but also I had to tell you off air. I told you that I just told my niece that is still active duty Air Force, so she cannot wait to hear this whole thing. It's amazing to have you on.
Tell her hello, and I'm proud of her too. Whatever she's doing, Intel. We did a lot of work with Intel. Those guys are worth their weight, man, in gold.
Yeah. Perfect. Thank you so much, Miss. I was going to say Miss Linda Cox, but Chief Master Sergeant Linda Cox. Thank you so much for coming on. This was amazing, and thank you to all my listeners. And please stay tuned for the next episode.